Well, book display policies were back on the table at the Greenville County Library Board meeting today. The months-long debate may finally be over.
Fox Carolina's Anna Arender is here explaining what happened inside that meeting today and the changes being made. And I know you've been following this for a long time.
Yes, Dana, Tori, the battle over book displays within Greenville County libraries may be settled. However, the vote by the board today, it actually wasn't unanimous. Members going back and forth for nearly 2 hours. Now, we want to rewind for just a moment and go back to how this controversial debate started. Back in June, a vote made by the board removed all displays across the county except for those promoting library events. A decision made after multiple complaints over pride and banned book displays in several branches. Now, on October 13th, the Operations Committee met to amend the policy, which is what they brought before the board today. The update allows new arrivals, non-themed book displays, and books about county-recognized holidays. Now, 6 board members voted in favor of the new policy, 4 against, and 1 abstaining.
The debate is politics, agendas, people's personal agendas. That's what brought us here. We're here because people abuse a policy. That's it. And now we have to address that.
This policy is not neutral either, and it's not consistent, which is why I think we're opposed to it. It seems as if it's trying to get rid of a certain type of display.
Now, the revised policy is described as, quote, ground zero by Executive Director Beverly James. She says it allows the board to add on to it, potentially changing it in the future. Tori, Dana, back to you.
Yeah, Anna, as you said, non-themed displays are part of this revised policy. Can you kind of explain to us what that means?
Yeah, absolutely. And I even had to ask for clarification on this myself just to make sure that we understand. But when putting books together on a shelf, there cannot be an obvious theme to them. So any books maybe about sports, knitting, animals, that isn't a defined theme with all 3 of those. Now, however, if all the books were about certain sports or various animals around the world, those are all considered a themed display under this new ruling. I'm Anna Arender reporting.